Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality back here with you today, bringing you an article from good old Breitbart that I saw, and it's on a topic that I've kind of wanted to talk about for a little bit, that I think about every day because I keep hearing these words used by the far left, and in true far left fashion, they don't seem to know the definition of the words that they're using. So let's go over that right now. So again, this article is from Breitbart from March 10th. And it's from John McWhorter, or he's the guest on Bill Maher's show. This is actually him right here. Says that equity is a dehumanizing weasel word for token black used by those who think of themselves as gods. Now, I'm not going to go into that sort of stuff for it, for what I'm going to talk about, but I just wanted to kind of go over some of what he says here, and then kind of my thoughts on the whole equity versus equality thing. So, just so you know who John McWhorter is, he's a Columbia University professor and New York Times newsletter author. And he argued on, this is Bill Maher's show, and the Real Time with Bill Maher, said that equity is a sneaky, terrible weasel word for bringing people into positions they're not qualified for yet, and that doing so is dehumanizing, and diversity and equity are just new terms for tokenism. He's 1,000% right on this. And McWhorter said the difference between equity and equality is a truly sneaky, terrible thing. Equity is this wormy word. The idea is that you're going to have equality by forcing the issue, by bringing people into positions that they're not qualified for yet so that everything looks like America. That's in quotes. So it sounds like equality, and you say equity and you figure it's the same thing, but if it's a euphemism. They're trying to slip in without letting you know that it's going to be equality accomplished in a way that you probably wouldn't like. It's like if you say to somebody, well, before I let you go, and you say to them, and they didn't say that they wanted to be let go, really you just want to get rid of them. Or if you talk about diversity, well, imagine talking to Franklin D. Roosevelt about diversity. When we say diversity, what we mean is changing standards for various reasons for Black and Latino and sometimes Native American people. That's what diversity means. You just don't want to say it. Equity means that you force equality and you kind of weasel your way through it. And so it's like you take the word equality and you kind of knock the AL out of it. Then he continued and said, and the people who do think that that's the right thing because they are on the side of the angels and we have to have this fake equality. And what it means is that this DEI is diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's not an accident that DEI is the first three letters of deity. These people think of themselves as gods. None of this is an accident. So that's what equity means. It's a weasel word. And basically, he just kind of says some other stuff here. I'm not going to go into that because it kind of gets into some language that I'd rather not use. But just to talk about the equity versus equality thing, again, I hear this all the time. You hear our wonderful cackling vice president always talk about equity. And again, and because it's her, I would argue that she probably doesn't really know what equity is. So there's a very famous cartoon that made the rounds years ago, and I brought it up over here just to kind of show what the differences between them are, and I'll explain them probably a little bit simpler than what you see here. So equality, as it's showing by this meme here, this is from a Reddit post from the Right Can't Meme, which, shut up, because that's completely not true. There's some great memers on the right. It's the left that can't meme. If it was something about the left, there'd be about 17 paragraphs worth of text in here. But anyway, so equality here. Equality, this is that everybody has the same opportunity. So these folks are all watching a baseball game, and the boxes represent the opportunity. So everybody has the same opportunity. Even though their views of the game are different, they're all still able to watch the game. Equity, in theory, or at least this is the way that all the far left progressives like to think of it, is that basically everybody should have the exact same view of the baseball game. And because this is a communist thing, I'm sure this little dude here somehow probably kicked the knees of the big dude and just took his box and stacked it up there so that he could see. But how equity really works, and this is 100% true, is that you're actually just cutting everybody down so that, like, because this little dude seems to be the most disadvantaged, is that you're basically making sure that these two cannot, are basically the same height as the little guy. And this is represented by God knows how many things we have in society today. So the way I look at it is, when you have equality, let's think of a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being poor people, 5 being like rich people. Okay, equality is saying, those people down at the 1, how do we get them up to a 5? We want to pick them up. And in today's society, we have given them the opportunity. I mean, you live in America, you have the opportunity just by virtue of being here to reach the 5. It's just a matter of how much work are you going to put into it? What kind of ideas do you have? Do people want to support that? And so on and so forth. Not everything works. It's just the way life is. Okay. So just deal with it, so it doesn't mean anybody's, prejudiced against you or anything. It just means sometimes things just don't work out. Just the way it is. Life goes on, but equity, on the other hand, is the inverse of that. Equity is saying, hey, all those people at the 1, we don't think they can get to the 5. So we need to take the people at the 5 and bring them down to the 1. And if you really want to think about it, equity is, as Professor McWhorter's article said, and he's probably hinting at it, and what he said was that it's a pretty bigoted way of looking at things. There's a phrase that goes around pretty regularly, the bigotry of low expectations, which is just bigotry. I mean, it's in the term, and you just see it from all these college admissions that are now suddenly saying we're not going to use the SAT to judge how the students coming in are. And all these universities lowering their standards, to let folks in, and that harms the university. You see it a lot with Ivy League schools, and they're lowering their standards, and now you're going to have people getting into it. It doesn't matter what they look like or anything. It's just people that would not normally be qualified to do that or to go into that college are there now, and they're probably not going to last very long at those places. I went to 1 year of college to a pretty well-known, hard university just for my freshman year. And didn't help that I treated it like, I was still in high school. So that was problem number 1, but it was still very difficult. Okay. And I only lasted there for a year, totally 100% my fault that I didn't make it through, but nobody's going to lower their standards for that. And I don't understand that what this communist view, which is what it is, of saying, hey, all those people up there, these people down here can't get up there. So we need to tear you down, which is this whole thing, this whole third panel here, so that everybody can see now the baseball game. They have to look through the fence like the littlest person. So this is what equity really is here. And it's just this is a truly insidious thing that has seeped into our culture, is us deciding that we're going to have people that are not qualified for things doing super important things. I think it's a huge reason why you're seeing a lot of societal breakdown right now. And I'm not talking about personal relationships or things like that. I'm talking about just train derailments. I mean, the East Palestine thing happened a couple weeks ago from when I'm recording this. You're seeing, or at least I'm seeing, a lot more near hit plane crashes. It's not a near miss, as George Carlin said. If it was a near miss, they would have hit each other. But you're seeing a lot of near hit plane crashes. You're just seeing a lot of things just falling apart. And it's because, we have people that are doing things that shouldn't be. And before you say, well, hey, wait a minute, Jason, do you not want people of a certain skin color or sex in those jobs? No, I 100% do, but they need to be qualified for it. If you want any further proof that equity is not good and that putting people in positions of power or in positions to do things that they have no qualification for is not a good thing, I present to you the Biden administration. Just go ahead and look. You have Pete Buttigieg, okay, who is an up-jumped small-town mayor, okay, that couldn't even do anything for his community, right? His community hated him, and suddenly he's the head of the Department of Transportation for why? What does he know about that? And the answer is he doesn't know anything about that. He has literally zero experience in that. Joe Biden might as well put me in charge of that department. It would have been the exact same amount of qualifications, but we all know why Pete Buttigieg got that job. Not going to say it on here, but you know why. And then look at the, what is she? The assistant HHS secretary, the transgender lady. Same thing. What was that person's experience with that stuff? Literally nothing, but they got the job. Okay, how about our press secretary? remember the Biden administration just kept talking about how, oh, she's gay and black. And it was like, okay, but what's her qualifications? They're like, well, she's gay and black. And you're like, okay, I get that. But what has she, like, what can she do? How does she know how to do this? But she's gay and black. And it was like, that's all they can do. And I think we've seen more than enough circumstances at this point to say she has no idea what the hell she's doing up there. She's deeply unqualified for that job. Okay, and it sucks that they decided just to like throw her into that, you know, but it is what it is. And you can just kind of keep going around the whole Biden administration and say a lot of these people that are there just because of immutable characteristics, not because they actually know anything about the department that they are in charge of. Okay, and even going a step further, what's going to happen now to all the people who may listen to this that have children? What's going to happen when you go to a pediatrician and you find out that the person there is a doctor, not because they were like the best in their class at being a doctor. They got it because of something that had nothing to do with their ability to be a doctor, like because of their skin color or because of their sex. Like that was it. That's the only reason. Are you going to be like, yeah, I'm going to keep going to this person? Or you're going to be like, no, I want my kid to see the best person there is. You know, I keep thinking about this old George Carlin joke where he said, somewhere in the world exists the world's worst doctor, and there's somebody seeing them, you know, and that's going to be the case when this happens. And it's not just that. There's going to be a lot more things like airline pilots. What happens when you get on a flight, and would you want to be on a flight with a pilot that they just got their job because someone was trying to fill a quota, as opposed to someone who actually knows how to fly a plane? You're going to see there's going to be a lot of dead people happening. And that's just the start. And keep thinking about stuff like that. You know, think about people doing other things like train stuff, for instance. Again, referencing East Palestine. I don't know what the situation was with that. But imagine you have people suddenly doing that, you know, hauling chemicals, like poisonous chemicals around, you know, in vehicles that they don't really know how to control. It's going to keep happening. You're just going to see this stuff happening over and over and over and over. And it's going to get worse before somebody has to step in and say, you can't do this. All right, you need to hire the best available people. Who gives a crap what they look like? Okay. And before anybody gets super pissed about that, I'll throw in another thing for you here. Like, if we're doing this whole thing, like it says, like the professor here, where did he say it? That it's like, you know, so that yet everything looks like America. Okay, so if everything needs to look like America, what if the NBA was to come out tomorrow and say, yeah, we want our rosters to look like America, so out of the 12 players on the roster, 7 or 8 of them have to be white. You can only have 1 or 2 black people. You have to have an Asian, someone that's LGBTQ, could be any one of the other people. It doesn't have to be someone separate, you know, and you have to have a Jewish person or a Native American. Would you be okay with that? Because understand, that's the position that you're arguing for, is going, yeah, because it's got to look like America, then we have to be okay with that. What happens to that product then? It's going to start to suck. It's going to be bad, and people are not going to want to go see it. Okay, because of this. It's the same concept between all these things. So that's just how I feel about this stuff, that we got to stop doing this whole equity thing. It's just going to lead to really, really bad things for the future, for this country, for everything, and for everybody. It's going to be a lot of people dying unnecessarily. It's all stuff that can be 100% avoided. And those are my thoughts. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe. Talk to you later. Bye.